Welcome back to Two Canadians at Kafe Lise, a Vigor podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Dr. Anton, and with me is the other host, DJ Spencer.
Hello.
Partner, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is episode 61. And today we thought we would talk about some changes that have been introduced, over the seasons by the Vigor team at Bohemia, and how they've affected things. I'm not talking about like bugs per se. This is more like actual proper changes they've made to how the game plays, and how we felt the effect as we've gone. A lot of these changes have been more recent, the ones I think we're going to be talking about.
Mhm.
But there's definitely been quite a few throughout the seasons. So this is not exhaustive. And if there's some you want us to talk about, let us know in the comments below. So as you like, and subscribe and share it. Also leave a comment. Let us know about changes. And we're not talking, like we said, not talking about bugs, though. Let us know about bugs as well, because in a future episode, we do want to talk about various bugs throughout the season. So if you give us some bugs to talk about, and we're building a list of bugs as well, that'd help a lot as well. We'd appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah. So episode 61, it's talking about changes. Um, they've been, quite a few, and it seems, especially with the Chronicles, they've really s- you know stepped up how they've affected, like, doing changes that affect gameplay. Because it seemed before that there was some things that were around forever, and it's hard to know, um, if some of that was a change in direction, from, say, the old guard to the newer guard, because there has been quite a bit of changeover um, at Bohemia when it comes to Vigor. So maybe that plays some of it. Who knows? Can't, we're not inside, so we can't say for sure, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it really does seem like a lot of gameplay elements have changed quite a bit in these last few seasons. Um, so we'll just go over a few of them, and as we'll talk about them as we go over them. Uh, Thinking back, well, actually, one that's definitely predates this current um, main, main developer pool. I think would be from way back in season 7, when they did anti campers. That was back when there was a lot of, people crying out about how much camping there was in the game, both at the exits, but also just in general throughout maps. And so season 7 is when they really came out to do an anti-camper, I don't know what to call it, fix, or they were trying some stuff out.
Feature.
Um, Feature, yeah, anti-camping
Yeah.
feature. And this is different from the crows, because the crows, had they been introduced? Yeah, they were introduced before this.
Yeah. I
Um,
want to say crows were season 5 when Sogbrook came out.
yeah, yeah, that sounds about right. We could have put it down here as well, but yeah, crows, and for the most part they work, but there are, there's been times where sometimes they don't work at certain exits or whatever. But then when they really wanted to, that was to help with the camping at exits. But the one they really did was the camper feature with mortars. So if you stayed too long at a particular spot, all of a sudden a red dot would show up on the map, and you was just, if you were still there, you would get pelted with mortars. I think it was like a single barrage. Do you remember?
Yeah. Yeah, it was, well, yeah, I want to say it was like a single mortar strike that would drop, but it
Yeah.
felt like forever.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, if you were, and it wasn't even if you were camping. It's just, if you just happened to stay too long in this particular spot for whatever reason, it would
Yeah.
trigger these things. And it was supposed to be. It was a couple minutes, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, it was 2 to 3 minutes there if you were in the same spot and you didn't move.
Yeah,
I think it was like 5 meters, 3 to 5 meters or something like that.
yeah. You
Uh,
really, yeah. If you didn't
Otherwise,
move
yeah.
enough, yeah. So that was it's like anything. It was well intentioned, but it did not play out well. It was just too distracting. Like even if because those mortars were loud. If no matter where you were on the map, you would hear these mortars going off. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can't.
it was very
Yeah,
loud. There was performance issues too, when they would happen. Like there was some stuttering and whatnot. And honestly, it caused more
yeah,
issues. And they actually took it away with the 8.1 update, like
yeah,
a season and a half later.
yeah.
Um,
It lasted longer than you thought it would.
so, um, yeah, it was highly requested, and then it was also highly complained about, and it did not last too long. But it's funny
Yeah,
because you would see, like, it's the same, like, uh, little target on the map that would show up, when the anti-mortars would, set off. So, like, just like when you set off a car alarm, it's the same exact thing, that would appear on the map, and you would have, like, a bunch of people, like, anyone who's going out for kills, it's like they just flock to that. So it's almost uh, like a signal detector type thing, right?
yeah,
Because they're like, "Okay, someone's here.
yep.
I'm
There's
going."
someone
So,
there. Everyone's gonna head that way, and then yeah. So yeah, that was a
yep,
interesting time,
yeah,
and that was season 7. I'm just
yeah.
trying to think. Was 7 when it came up for the PlayStation? For what was that
I
9?
no, it was
I think
6.
9 was it 6 for PlayStation?
I wanna say it was 6, yeah,
Could be.
because I wanna say
Yeah,
it
it might
was
have been.
Junkers that it came out.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just trying to think if it was in for all platforms, and so it most
Yeah,
likely was then. Yeah,
and that was the time when we had, like, a lot of blue screening, um, so,
right.
not to say that that was part of it, but, uh,
No,
yeah,
yeah, and then I do remember, especially the PlayStation players at the time, they were having quite a bit of problems with blue screening, um, on
yeah,
their end. So, yeah, it was quite the thing, and yeah, if it really was a performance thing too, because even now, and well, not so much on when you have a system like the say the Series X or PS5, but if you had anything lower, when mortars go off, especially if you're near the container, it really, it really played havoc with, the frames, everything was stuttering, the sound and everything. It was just, yeah, it caused a lot of issues. So, yeah, it was good they took it back, and they haven't tried to re-implement it.
yeah.
Um, I know people, I think, still complain today about camping to a point, but I haven't
Oh,
found
it's
what.
consistent.
Oh, yeah, it's always gonna be consistent, but I haven't found that because I'm one who tends to play strategically, right? So, if I'm doing something and I hear footsteps, I'll stop, right? And in the past, it would be like if I got a kill because somebody came into a building I was in, um, and I killed them. And so, oh, I'll get the hate mail about camping or whatever, even though just a few minutes before I was running around wherever I was, looking for loot,
Yeah.
right? But I haven't found it's been as bad for me. At least I haven't noticed it. I think I have gotten like one or two since those days, but it hasn't been too bad. How about do you? Well, you never camped, or
Um,
yeah, I know you never camped, but
I go into
um,
buildings, but yeah,
yeah,
I'm not. I can't say like I don't know if I hear someone coming, like I'll pause type thing, but
yeah,
uh, like I'm looking for the first chance I get to like get out of the building because I'm not a big fan of fighting in close quarters type
like
thing.
being contained in a building, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because
feel like a
sometimes you
rat
get
trap. Like
right,
get
yeah,
me
yeah.
out of here.
And sometimes yeah, you get some of these like the sweaty players or whatever who are just if you're in a building and they know you're in the building, they'll be running around from window to window to window trying to,
Yeah,
get an angle on you, right? And so if you want to get out of that building and they're doing that already, it's tough because they'll probably be on you by the time you're vaulted out of the window, right?
yeah.
So
Well,
Yeah, I
not
get it.
just looking just not looking through the windows, because if you're too close to the walls, your
Yep.
weapon, or, like, if you're prone,
Something's
maybe, like,
poking
a
through.
limb is gonna poke through the wall. They
Yeah.
could wall bang you. It's just, like, trying to figure out how to get in there and, like, get a kill safely from the outside, right, instead of going in, so
Yeah, true. So, yeah, they're looking for whatever they can, and yeah, if in those situations when they know you're there, um, yeah, it can get quite nerve wracking if you're not a forceful like a player, right? You're not one of those ones who are um, trying to engage right away. Like
Mhm,
for me, like I don't mind engaging, but you know, I want it to be on my terms. And sometimes if I hear something, I'll stop, wait to hear where they're going, so I get try to judge, what I can do. But sometimes you don't have time,
mhm.
especially if they've ported you or whatever, right?
Yep.
So yeah, so yeah, that anti camper one, yeah, it was just yeah insane. Going on from that, a lot of these changes are going to be from the Chronicles ones, and that's really I think where a big direction in the game was changing because of new leadership and all that, and then they started coming out with more lore and more story. But then they also started making all these little changes to how various things happened. I think one of the earlier ones we have listed here was the updating in vaulting, and I believe that also came with the climbing animations
Yep.
we were saying. Yeah, so vaulting was improved, and that was a big one because if you remember, and if you didn't play before, they made this change. There would be times where you're running up to a fence or you're trying to go through a windowsill and you'll hit the vault button and it wouldn't catch, and it's like you're trying to find the right spot
Yep.
to hit that vault, and it could be really painful, trying to get it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like if you've never played in those days, be grateful because now it's you run up to something, even if you're a bit early on it, it'll generally catch it, and it's
Yep.
really smooth.
Oh, yeah, it's
Um,
so much smoother now. Uh,
yeah,
they did a
and
really good job.
yeah, and that now how's that affected gameplay for us? Um, you could almost say that with some of the other add-on changes they've made, it's probably made some things a little easier. But it's a lot quicker now. Like when you get over to get your weapon going and being able to fire right away. Because in the past, vaulting was also very kind of slow. I think vaulting
Mhm.
sped up quite a bit, right?
Yep.
So you get over that obstacle, and you can get your weapon out and be ready to fight. So you would never before consider vaulting over something in the middle of a fight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, experienced
Um,
players.
okay, yes,
Yeah.
experienced players would never consider it.
It was like a death sentence, essentially.
It's
It
how
was
you learn, I guess, right?
yeah,
You
yeah,
have to learn somehow, and in the middle of a fight, it's a bad time to learn.
yeah. Well, in Vigor,
um,
that's pretty much how you learn, is by dying, so
it's true. Yeah, it is a game that the more you die, it's like, the more, hopefully, the more you learn. Not
yep.
always. It's easy to make the same mistake over and over again, especially when the adrenaline starts pumping.
Mhm.
But yeah, the vaulting, huge improvement, and I'm just trying to think of anything. Can you think of anything like negative that might have come out of it? I can't
Uh,
think of anything.
I honestly don't think so. I think this was, like, a
Yeah.
big plus in the movement, uh, of the game. So this is a fantastic addition, and, like, the cool thing too was right after this update came out, so it was like the 11.1 update. They had a dead stream, and Johanny was on it. Uh, and we're big fans of Johanny when he's on there because he gets really
Yep.
technical.
Yeah,
Um,
he's great.
and he actually shared some screenshots of like the collision detection and stuff like that, of before and after, uh you know not the update, but when they were working on it. And then
Right.
you could actually
Yeah.
see, going through windows and everything like that, how, like, it was a lot easier to get through a window, prior to the update. So, yeah, it was super cool. And yeah, it's definitely honestly, I don't think there was any big downside to this update, anyways.
No, and yeah, think about it. I can't think of one either. If you know of any, let us know. But no, it just improved. Everything's so much better. Everything's more fluid and it just works. So that's an example of a change that might seem a little small at first, but it was actually a huge improvement in
Mhm.
the quality of life of the game. So yeah, vaulting, that was like a recent really good change. A bunch of changes came through 12. So why don't you take us through the ones that came out at 12.1?
Okay. So 12.1, we saw uh, a rework of the stun mechanic. So uh, any weapon that has the stun mechanic, when you're in the uh, inventory, on the far right, you'll actually see like it's a person and there's like stars around the head. That means it has
Yeah.
stun. So there's like shotguns. The magnums have it. The Sharpshootengewehr and the PH M82 has it. The Mosin has it. There's a few other ones, but yeah. So you would get a shot. It would stun the person, and then with this rework here, 12.1, I'm pretty sure this is the one too that added more consistency to it, and it also brought
Great.
over um, the same mechanic. I'm going to call it a mechanic, but the same mechanic as the improvised bomb, so or the
Oh,
improvised
right.
bomb, where
Mhm.
it's like it's almost like a flashbang, you're disoriented. Now it's not too crazy because you can still shoot. You can like I've gotten kills, stunned and whatnot, but like there is a
Oh,
little
okay.
pause
Yeah.
where you can't shoot or do anything. But like as the effect is on, like you can still shoot.
Yeah.
Um
I've really
and it
noticed it a lot, especially in like shootout. Like because in shootout there's a better, especially on the Mirren map right now. There's a lot of snipers. They do have the magnums as well, and there have been times I'm running around and I get hit and it's like boom and like everything's gone crazy and it's like, oh, I don't want to get killed. I'm trying to run around. I'm trying to shoot back if I can, and I've really noticed a lot on there, and that's I think because you're running around looking for fights, and so getting hit by those weapons is a lot more prevalent. Whereas out in the encounters, it's not quite as, I don't know. I don't find it as
Well, in the
common.
current meta type thing,
Yeah.
you won't see it as much. But like, the you'll see the pH being used, but you'll see people with challenges going out with like the SWSH.
Yeah.
But like it brought more viability to these weapons
Hmm.
anyways, right? Because it gives you that opportunity compared to like something like an AR, which has like a faster firing rate. So it gives you that opportunity to get like, say a two tap before the other person can even hit you.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm thinking like Mirren, like you can get, I seem to get a lot of Sharpshooten and it's
Yeah.
like
There are. Yeah.
it's viable. Like,
Hmm.
don't get me wrong, like you hit your shots, it's like boom, they're stunned, and you could, you're reloading the next bullet, and you could shoot by the time he's pretty much done his stun effect. So
Potentially. Yeah.
yeah, the that sniper is not the greatest because of the damage, isn't the
And
greatest on it, but
it's so slow on the reload on that one.
yeah,
I
but, like,
find,
you
yeah.
have if you by the time you're ready to shoot again, the stun is,
Mhm.
like, just finishing. So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's not, like, super is not the greatest, but it's not the worst either. Because like, had it been where it's like the person can literally run out, like, another 10 meters, then it's like, yeah, okay, you're a little slow at reloading your weapon, Outlander, so, uh
Yeah. 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 Or you've shot somebody and you're doing the reload to hit them a second time, but by that time, who knows who's come around near you and sees you, right? So
yeah,
yeah, I have a hard time with that rifle. It's not my favorite at all. I
yeah.
have gotten kills with it in my Mirren, but not many. Yeah, for sure.
It's yeah.
Mhm.
Anyways, also on 12.1, they announced that Dropshot was mitigated.
Yeah,
So drop shooting or drop shotting what has been around for ages, like since I started and probably prior to that.
yeah.
So basically, it's the act of shooting while you're going down, and the way it used to be was, you're actually increasing your accuracy in the process of going down. Um, and in this update, basically, as you're going down, the crosshairs actually like kind of, I'm going to say explode, but they expanded.
They bloom, yeah,
Very,
they do get bigger.
it is like massive how big the
Yeah.
bloom is. And I believe the process of going down actually got slowed as well on in this update, or it might have been a prior one because there have been like other like tweaks to drop
They
shotting,
had
but
been
like
tweaking it, and I think you're right. I think it might have been a little bit prior because there was, like, the animation was adjusted, right? So when you do the
yeah,
drop shot, it's like you see the guy putting his hands down kind of, like, or the figure putting their hands down, to get into position. I think before this update, they had made a bit of the change, but the drop shot was still possible because they hadn't done anything with the sights.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and like it drastically reduced, or sorry, this okay, in my opinion, this did not drastically reduce the drop shot, uh, but like you don't see it as much since this update. Uh,
Yeah.
but like to me, I think the right fix, like it is a good fix, but I think the right fix to fixing the drop shot would have been actually pausing the actual firing, because
Mm,
if you're going to be going down prone, who is actually going to be able to hold a gun while shooting and land and not get like knocked or something like that, right?
yeah.
Ooh, I think that would have been my preferred solution, but this does kind of work. Uh,
Mhm.
but then the other update or change that was introduced is the jump shotting. So it
Yeah.
wasn't not necessarily jump shooting that was introduced. It was the fact that you could fall off an object and still shoot, but
Yeah.
they also implemented it with the jumping action as well.
Yeah, and it
So
was, I think a lot of it at first, or maybe not, but I thought a lot of it was also to help mitigate because yeah, in these maps, like if you're in a fight with somebody and you're on some rocks, yeah, if you slid a little bit, then you
yeah,
wouldn't be able to fire. And quite often that would be, the end of it, right?
yeah,
You'd get killed. So I believe, yeah, I do believe quite a bit of it was to help mitigate that so that you wouldn't you d you know, n losing your aim and firing as you if you slipped as you were moving.
yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah.
basically to be able to fall and still shoot and to protect yourself because you're dead if you're like you said you fell off a rock.
Yeah.
But this is pretty much why you don't see a lot of drop shotting now. Is
It's
because
all
all the drop shotters are now jump shooting.
it's all
Uh,
jump shooting. We got rabbits all over the place.
and yeah, well, I like to call them gazelles, but
Gazelles.
uh,
Yeah, because 'cause they're running and
deers,
jumping, yeah.
deers, whatever. Like it's all the same.
Running
But
free, yeah.
uh, yeah. So the jump shooting has been prevalent since that update. There's been a couple of minor changes here and there. Like the bloom has been increased when you're jumping and shooting, but again, like it's just prevalent, and it doesn't matter. If you're carrying a heavy weapon or a pistol, it's like you're able to do it with
Yeah,
no negative effects.
yeah.
Now, with the recent dev stream, it's not just the recent dev stream, but there's been
It's
like
been mentioned a
hints in
couple
the
times,
past
yeah.
where it sounds like the community's been asking for like stamina nerfs when like you're carrying a lot of ammo or a lot of weight, like from an LMG or something like that. So
Right.
maybe we're gonna see this by the end of the year with the weapon rework that they've been. talking about. So
Yeah, because
we'll
they
see.
did mention like making adjustments, yeah, based on they did specifically, I think, mention machine guns. Um, so machine guns were thrown out there as far as they were working on something in regards to jumping and machine guns. Um, it was very, it was vague, but it does sort of show that they're working on something on it. Um, y- yeah, I don't know. The jump shot is one of those I just so I find annoying. I know there's people who just love it. I think it's the best thing ever. I think it takes away from the reality of the game. Um,
100%.
yeah, because I don't care what weapon you have. If you're jumping, and it's not like John Wick where you're like
Yeah.
perfect aim as you're falling or jumping, or, through a room or whatever. Um, yeah, it's just it is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Um, but right now it's just one of those things. So when you're listening to this, it's still a thing, obviously. Maybe in the future, but you say, "Oh, they got rid of that." It's like that'd be great,
Yep.
but it's probably not going to be anytime soon where it's fully mitigated. I don't know if it'll ever be fully
Yep.
mitigated, but we'll see.
Well, we should state that right now it's as we're recording, it's season 14. Just for the
Yes,
record.
yes. Yeah, it's season 14 right now. So if you're listening back, it's then you'll be able to tell from our background if you recognize the backgrounds, what season they came from. But yeah, uh, yeah. So 12.1 was a big update. Like they made a lot of changes to how things played, how things worked. Um, but it's good, because it means, that they're taking some of the stuff, they're hearing what the community has to say and trying things out, um, and, this is what we get, right? Um,
Yep.
Whenever there's major changes, it opens the opportunity for new meta to happen, right? Whether it be how they adjust weapons, so, how they fire, um, or how they feel when you're running or carrying and working with them. Like that introduced the whole machine gun meta, which they've been working on to scale back a bit, so they're not quite as overpowered as they were when they first made those adjustments.
Yep.
So yeah, anything, all these kind of changes, it just opens up new things. And with the whole jumping, like with the whole jump shot, that's sort of leading back a little bit to what I was talking about with vaulting. Is now with the vaulting and the ability for jump shotting, it makes things a lot easier to get your weapon out and fire quickly, kind of thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, no, the 12 was a big one. I can't Off the top of my head, I can't think of any major changes in 13 that they might have done. But then the only thing that I wanted to kind of mention that came out recently, and it hasn't really affected how we play the game too much, but it has kind of affected my perceived time in the game, and that's the change in the time remaining in the season. Because prior to season 14, it was always been there's so many days left in the season. And sure, especially in older seasons, there was quite a few times where they had to extend seasons, because they weren't ready for the next season. So sure, in prior seasons, it was a lot of you see that time, that date, but they're going to extend it. It's not going to be that long. The last few seasons have been really good, where they say it's going to end on this date or pretty whatever, and that's pretty much when it ended. There hasn't been too much variation from that. But now we have
Yep.
the progress bars, and it's pretty simple. They're sticking with 3 month seasons this year. So 2023, 3 month seasons. They want to try to get 4 seasons out this year, and so they've changed it to this progress bar, which they kind of update. And I wish it was more real, not real time's hard to say, like, but almost every few days, I wish there would be some kind of progress on it, because right now it's either a half a bar or a full bar, and so for the long, and it's not updating at a timely manner either. Like at least on my game, it seemed I was on 1.5 bars for a really long time, and then a couple weeks ago, it changed to 2.5 bars. So it's like, whoa, boom, right? Like if I had been
Yeah.
paying closer attention to dates, I could probably work it out myself better. But it's just okay, if you're going to do this whole progress bar thing, make it so that it's actually filling in and
Yeah.
not jumping. I don't know. That's my opinion.
I I think it's because the end date of the season was kind of fluid and wasn't actually set, and I
Right.
think that's why you're seeing it that way. And because like you even saw like in the last dev stream, they kind of like announced that like this season, there's less than a month coming in the season. So but
Yeah.
they did mention too that uh the countdown like will be back before the end of the season. They are going to give at least 7 days notice, if not
Oh,
maybe a bit more. But they did say that in the dev stream.
okay. I
But
missed that part then.
they weren't 100% sure if it was going to be 7 days or like 14 days. But it is going to return to like the actual countdown prior to that. So um,
Now, did
that
you really notice it much? Like, were you like, you may not have been as annoyed as I was, but did it ever factor in? Did you ever look at
uh,
it and say,
just the last one when it jumped to the third bar, and I was like, "Oh," I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, I had a few challenges that I was kind of like, I these ones are going to take longer." So I was like, "Oh, I better focus on these ones." Um,
yeah, yeah,
so it's that's the only thing. But I'm glad that they're going to like go back with the timer because like I literally have one challenge left. I need to get phone duels, and I just have this bad luck of either not getting someone to pick up the phone or they're just running out the exit type thing. Um,
right.
so they might have accidentally picked up the phone. But like I need 2 or 3 more or something like that, so I'm not too worried.
Yeah, I still need like 10, I think, at least 10, maybe a couple more than that. And it's been tough because I have quite a few that I'm getting really close on. And so I'm trying to get them done. But then I have some that are remaining that I haven't hasn't even started yet. And it's like, okay, I try to re-roll some of them. And the other day I got kind of so cheesed off because I was re-rolling this one, and I swear I re-rolled like 4 or 5 times, and the same challenge popped up like
Yeah.
maybe it's even more than 4 or 5 times. I rewrote a bunch, and the same challenge popped up like at least 5 times or whatever.
Oh
It's like
wow.
I don't want that challenge. And it
Yeah.
was like open a safe with an enemy. The one where you have not
Oh,
with a
the time
friend,
vault. Yeah.
the time vault one,
Yeah. 10 with an
with
enemy, I think it is.
or with another Outlander. Like I guess
Yeah.
it didn't. Yeah, it didn't say a friend, so it's one that's has to be an enemy. But I had no luck with that one at all. Like, I
Oh,
would even sometimes go to the time vault and wait by a switch and hope that someone hits the other switch, and,
yeah.
it was a pain in the butt, and then they
Yeah.
kept rolling up, and it's like, I just
That
need something I could try
yeah.
to complete.
That was the one that I saw that one. I'm like, I got it done last season. I was like, okay, this one I'm getting it done like ASAP. And I think it was like one of the first ones that I really focused on because
Yeah.
it's such a crapshoot. You don't know who is going to like shoot you. Like most of the time, if I saw a green coat, I try to hay them type thing. But
Mm.
yeah, otherwise it's like I would literally sit by a switch, but I would go to like the switch that was harder to find and
Mm.
then wait for him to hit the easy switch.
Sure. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
uh there was a couple times, okay, I'm going to admit to this. I showed up to the time vault, they hit one switch and I shot them in the back and then I ran to the other switch and opened it. So uh
Yeah, sometimes that's what you do, and there have been times where I would sit by a switch and like, "Okay, I need someone to hit the other switch," so I'll hit the switch, wait, "Hey, come on, guys, I'm over here. Hit the
mhm,
switch. Come on, come on. Somebody get the hit. I need the switch."
yep.
But no, that was a tough one. I don't know. I kept getting it like as a reroll, and it's like, oh,
Yeah. Uh, I
I
know I know quite a few people re-rolled and they got a few repeats type thing. But
yeah.
like I re-rolled probably like 3 or 4 and honestly I guess I was fortunate and I didn't get a single repeat. Um
I
so
got quite a few repeats. I did get like I rerolled quite a few, and I've gotten ones that I could do, and sometimes it take a little while to do them. Sure, like answer 30 calls. whether or not you win the things, it's just answering the 30 calls. So it's whenever the phone's ringing, try to get to it and answer it.
Yep.
But yeah, oh, that was just a tough one. Or you get the ones where you need like 99 kills with like a bugle. And it's
Oh
like, well,
yeah.
yeah, I'm not getting 99 kills in this kind of time, and I'm still working on my 7 or 44 kills with my H bar. So
Yep. And it's funny because like I complained about like the 99 M4A1 kills, but oh man, I love that gun so much. Like it is amazing.
I haven't even been playing with it because I've been trying to get kills with all these other guns I've
Yeah,
needed kills with.
yeah.
So I haven't really had much chance to play with it.
But yeah. Okay, Don. You said there was no major changes on season
Well,
13.
that I can
I
remember.
was
So
just I'm just going through the change log. I'm going to
yeah,
bring up two. Adrenaline shot, which has definitely changed a lot. Not
okay, yeah.
necessarily for like me or you because we're not going in. Although
I've been taking
doing
them even.
doing some of those challenges, like the time vault ones, it's like I'd pop it and then head straight for time vault to get
Yeah.
there quicker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that
Um,
was a big thing too, because yeah, sometimes, I start like if it's a big map, you start on the other side of the map from the time vault. It's like
yeah.
there's no chance. There's hardly any chance.
So that's one of them, and then the other one, seasonal challenges. We've literally just been talking about how like it's literally
Yeah,
made us change
that's
the way
true.
we play.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
that's fair.
I'm very grateful for that one, anyways, because it
No,
is
and
fun.
I'm complaining about it because yeah, some of these ones have been annoying on a reroll, I think it would be kind of nice if there was some kind of, I don't know, even if it's a timer. So like you reroll a challenge, then you're not going to see that challenge
Yeah.
maybe for the next 10 minutes or whatever, just so you have a
Yes.
better chance of getting something that
Yep.
you can do.
Uh, and I want to say so. Last season, I think it was even more common because I don't think the pool of challenges was huge. And this year it's been
Yeah.
expanded, or this season has been expanded.
Yeah.
But again, it's still, I don't think it's a massive pool. And they've mentioned too that, they're looking for new challenges, they're adding to them. And if people have ideas for other challenges, it's like, let them know.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, the more they increase the pool, the less chance of this kind of thing happening for sure. But yeah, and consumables was something I thought we could talk about too. And you brought up a great one. Yeah, the adrenaline shot. I definitely had a difficult seasonal challenge. I think I had it both last season and this season, where I had to use 5 in an encounter, and you can only take 3 with you at the most, right? So that means you had to either find or get them off of somebody. And
Yeah.
that was a tough one. I'd be taking 3 in with me every encounter, hoping to find those other 2. And it took a while, but I, got that one done. But
Yeah.
now, even though I don't need to do that one, like a single adrenaline's always in my inventory now. Because it's so handy, right? Like if I find a picture for a dig spot that's across the map, pop the adrenaline, go for it, right?
Hmm.
Whereas before I would never even consider it. Or if I need to get to an exit, it's like the radiation's coming in and I'm far from an exit, go for it. That I'm sure a lot of people, and there have been times where I've done it too. You pop one before a fight. You're going to get into a big fight here. You're probably going to be fighting somebody who's um kind of a little sweaty, maybe someone who's like a pro player, maybe pop it with a caffeine just to sort of help you not get so you don't get tired. Because if
Hmm.
you're a looter like I am, you typically have a bunch of stuff in your bag, and it wears you down quick. So it helps even the play field a little bit. So yeah, that's one consumable that for sure that was
Yep.
recent. If we want to look at other consumables that have come out and maybe how they've affected the game, this season we had the bear trap, and I don't think it's affected the game at all. Like,
No.
uh, I think maybe people use them if they find them. I've run across them once or twice. If I find them, I'll throw them out there if I'm,
Yeah.
but yeah, like really it hasn't affected the game at all.
Yeah, and the seasonal challenges, right? Like there's one to like put down like 30 some or 60 some traps or something like that,
Yeah.
or 50 traps. I forget what the number is, but anyways.
Yeah, and then I think it's like if as soon as you there's one to like make like 66 of them, I
Yeah.
think is one of them. It's like a really high number like that. And so that's when you have to wait to even get the plan for it. But once you have the plan, it's it's fairly quick as long as you have the
Yeah.
resources for it. So that one, yeah, that didn't affect the game too much. But prior to that, we had, like we mentioned, there was the adrenaline shot. The various grenades that have come out have actually had a pretty, I think,
Yep,
decent effect on the game. Like,
I think
they
so.
haven't been, yeah, they haven't been like overpowering. Like, I like to take a couple with me to try to get those consumable kills because, again, challenge. Try
Yep.
to get consumable kills, and the grenade is counts. The grenade counts. The contact bombs count. The um, challenges have actually made things like the booby trap more viable. I find
Yep.
because of those consumable kills, um, the booby trap is actually decent. Like, I'll take it out. I'll throw them on something that I hope that someone's interested in going into, and I've
Yep.
gotten quite a few kills with them now. It's impressive.
Yep.
So that's another thing seasonal challenges have helped with. Um, the improvised mine n- hasn't had a huge effect in the game. I
No.
don't think.
No.
Like, it's not it's not a terrible thing because it does some damage and it also stuns them. But in comparison, the contact bomb is a much more effective um explosive
Yep.
because they run into it, boom, it goes off right away. Whereas the improvised mine, there's that little timing where, if they get away from it quick enough, they won't be hurt as bad. And
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, so it hasn't had a huge effect on the game. I don't, yeah, I don't take them in. If I find them, I'll use them. Um, what else has there been that fairly
I
recent, or not
I
even recent, but
honestly, the 2 big ones for me when we're talking about consumables that change the games, portables and armor plates.
yeah,
Those
armor plates
typically
are
are
way after the portables, but they made a big difference.
well, they're only like 2 seasons away or 3
Was it
seasons.
only 2 seasons? Because
Yeah,
I think Ports came out in season 3, didn't they? Was that in Rivals?
2
Or was it 2?
hold on. I think it's 2.
Because I thought Armor was Armor Renegades, or was it before Renegades? Let's take
Yeah,
a look.
sorry, portables 2, and then I wanna say, the plates were junkers, so 6.
So a few seasons away then, like 4 seasons
4.
or so. Yeah. So that's a good spread though, because 4
But
seasons, especially back then when the seasons were quite a bit longer than they, not intentionally, but they were quite a bit longer. Um,
yeah.
that's like a year apart practically, or
Uh,
more.
but
Yeah.
yeah, I would say those are the 2 consumables that have had the biggest, effect on the game, just because one, it's like, even before they limited the ports, it's like you'd have people literally running in with, like, a dozen ports
Sick,
and
or
literally
a pack full
just
of them sometimes.
just
Not,
like
maybe not quite.
hunting people. It's like kill, port,
Yeah.
kill, port, and it's like
And so,
just insane.
yeah, that's a
And
change.
yeah,
The limiting of the consumables, or
yeah,
the what you could take of how many of each type. That was a
yeah,
big change. I can't remember
yep,
when that happened, but that was, I think, a positive change. So many people griped about it,
yep,
for sure. But I think it was a good change because those things, yeah, they were overpowering the game. Like, you knew, as soon as you started getting ported, like sometimes you get ported like multiple times. That's how prevalent they were. Everyone had them, and it was like candy. They were using them like crazy. They would like port, run a little bit, port again to try to zero in on you, and it was, yeah, it
yep.
was it was insane.
Uh, yeah, and then armor plates. It's like I think it's good and bad. Because obviously, like if you didn't have the plate plan from that season, it's like you
Yeah,
had to wait for it. But
it
at
took a
this
long
point,
time to get it.
yeah, I think at this point a lot of people have it, so I think it's not that bad. We did have legacy seasons that were allowed you to get it, and now we're going to be getting like a shelter improvement that is going to also help with that.
Yeah, well, I'm really curious how the shelter improvements going to affect things like that, because
Yeah,
yeah, because there's when you look at a legacy season, there was cosmetics, there was plans. Those are the two big things that you got out of a season. So I'm really curious what the upgrade's going to be. You know that
Yeah.
sometimes it's a plan, sometimes it's a like. Do you choose what you're working on? Now, I guess we'll see. That's we'll see when that happens. I think it's like,
Mhm.
is that next season? Was it 15? They said
Uh,
when they were sort of
so
giving ideas.
there's no hard deadline.
Okay,
It was like, kinda like a target, but they did mention in the dev stream that, like, they may not meet it, so
okay,
it's probably gonna be, like, the following season, but, like, again, they're not gonna specify either until it's actually out, so,
yeah, yeah,
we'll see.
okay.
Uh, sorry, I was just looking, it looks like 8.1 was when they started limiting the ports
Mm.
or the consumables.
Yeah, the consumables, and yeah, I think that was a decent call, like based on the rarity of the thing
Yeah,
to limit
it
it. Yeah.
I don't think it was just for that, there was other things that people were exploiting, and I think that
Oh
was
yeah,
the
there.
reason
Yeah,
why,
that's
but,
true.
uh, yeah, either way, I think it affected the gameplay in a positive way, for sure.
Yeah. No,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, but, yeah, those are
Um,
the consumables. Uh, anything else, Doc?
another. Yeah, there's another one I can think of. I was just about to say, and it's probably before because it's before the consumable thing, I'm sure. And like I remember starting, I started in season 4. It might have been 5. I don't know if it was 5 or 6, where they changed how many crates you could carry. Because it used to be that in
Yeah,
duos, it always was that in duos, or I'm not sure if it always was. If there were, you could get there could be there's 2 crates, right? So if you're playing duos, each of you could get a crate. But then if your
yeah,
partner died, you could grab both crates, right?
yeah.
Originally,
Or
and I
you could be that
and
terrible teammate and just grab all the crates.
yeah, grab both crates regardless. Yeah. And so and I do remember, I can't remember if it was like 2 seasons in from when I started, so it could have been 6 or 7, where they changed it so that you could only ever carry 1 crate, and there was a huge amount of backlash on the crates. People just went crazy when they when they said, "Oh, you can't carry more than 1 crate," and
Yeah.
yeah, it was funny. Um,
But, like, I think the ones that complained the most were the ones who said, like, "If I boost to, like, a special issue crate and my teammate dies, like, I'm literally leaving behind a special issue crate." So, like, I kinda get it, but again, I like, based on realism, you're not carrying 2 crates. I
yeah.
don't care who you are, like,
Though I guess technically, when you get to a certain point, you are carrying 2 crates because you get a special issue and like what another
well, yeah,
it's usually like a
with
blue or a green or whatever
yeah,
boosts to.
after so
But
many crate boosts, yeah.
yeah, after so many boosts. But even you can always say that you're just getting a crate that has the contents of a special issue and something else, whatever. You could
Mhm.
still say it's 1 crate. Um, but yeah, that was one of those changes that I never had a problem with. Yeah, personally.
Yep.
And a lot of people listening to this now is probably the first time they may be hearing about this. Like, oh, really? There was a time you could grab all the crates? Yep.
Yeah,
Um, and that I guess included the red crate too, if you were able to find it. So, and I
yep.
guess potentially if you're in duos, you could have up to 3 crates.
Yep.
So,
Uh,
um,
and even at that, like, at one point, there was no trios, it was just duos, and it was actually random duos, as
yeah,
well that you could do. They took that away. Um, another thing that I could think of, uh, just as we are mentioning it
yep,
or, going through, locked exits, season 7, right?
locked. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
That changed, required you to do a little bit of looting or killing someone who did loot.
Yep.
It's not a huge amount of resources to get out, but, uh
Though sometimes it could be like,
yeah,
um,
Fisk
it's going to
Fisk in the
be like
gas
Fisk.
exit, it's like,
Yeah, it's like you need gas for this one, and it's like if you're near that exit and the thing's gone off, it's like okay, I don't have the gas. It's like I have to get to one of the
yeah,
farther
uh,
exits, and
yeah,
it could be a nail biter. Yeah,
so,
which is
that's
good.
definitely one. Yeah,
It brought attention to the game, right? It's like, oh, I can't get out this locked exit, or do I have to worry about somebody watching this locked exit as I try to use it, like
yep,
usual, right? I liked it. I thought it was a great change. even on a map like the battery drog, or is it battery drog? The spring one,
Yeah.
where
Yep.
all the exits are locked except for one,
Yeah.
and they all need different things. Well, except for a couple which I think use fuel, but most of them use a little bit, something different.
Wire. Yeah.
Wire,
Electronics.
electronics, yeah. And so it makes it interesting. I like the concept of the locked exits, and
Yeah.
there's even exits where I thought they could have added some more locked exits if they wanted on maps that don't have any. So you never know in the
Yep.
future, right? But
Exactly.
and was it when they did the locked exits, or was it after when they introduced the one on Fiel, the switchable
Yeah,
exit?
it's all the same.
It's all the same. Okay,
Yeah, all the
I
same.
couldn't remember
It's
if
when
that
they
was at the same
sorry, I
time.
said locked exits, but it's basically like the introduction of,
Yeah,
openable and lockable exits is what the
yeah.
changelog says. And then another thing, I think not necessarily for us, that changed the game, Lone Wolf Season 5, right?
Yeah,
So
Lone Wolf, the
you could
ability
go
to
in alone and go against duos and eventually trios.
yeah. Yeah, Lone Wolf was interesting. It gave people who were really into who really wanted the challenge of going up against duos and eventually trios, the ability to get a little extra XP for it, because it not for
Yep.
everything, but for kills, for certain things within a match, you get more XP if you're in Lone Wolf mode. Um, I know there was a time
Yep.
where quite often, even if you were in lone wolf mode, you're still getting thrown into singles. I think that's improved quite a bit. I think there's a better chance that you'll get
Oh, yeah,
duos.
it's because so many people were searching for, so at one
Yeah.
point, too many people were searching for Lone Wolf, and then
Mhm.
also, I believe they said at one point, if your Lone Wolf search didn't find, like, a match quick enough, they would actually throw you just into, like, a solo lobby because they
Yeah.
didn't want you to wait too long.
Right. To be waiting way too long. That's true. And when you mentioned too, like you said, there used to be random duos. And so before they got rid of, or no, was it after they got rid of random duos where there's a whole team kill thing they added in. Um, So there was been a couple of different iterations of team kill. So like people going in and on purpose or sometimes by mistake, killing their teammate. S- Um, they've introduced a couple different versions of that. Originally, it was just they were marked as a team killer. So and it still happens. You see it today if it happens. It doesn't happen often anymore, but I don't play a lot of duels, so it's hard
Yeah.
for me to know.
It still
Um,
happens occasionally that you see
yeah,
that.
but I think it's more of a nowadays, it's more of a by accident as opposed to
Yeah.
intentional, but I could be wrong. But yeah, when it started out, it was yep, just the blue marker, and that was it. But you could still loot, and then they made it so that you couldn't loot your teammate unless they allowed you to loot them. There was like a thing. Do you want them to to can turn teammate looting on or off? I can't remember what it was exactly, but I
Yeah.
think they eventually got rid of that as well. So now it's if you kill your teammate, you can't loot your teammate.
I wouldn't know because I don't do it.
Yeah, no,
I've
I
never
know.
killed a teammate. Well, it's been
No,
ages since I accidentally killed
yeah,
someone, so
on purpose. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I believe they've made it so yeah, now at this point, yeah, you can't loot them at all. Um, which is fine. It can I understand where it can be kind of frustrating because you go in with somebody and but if it's by accident, then if they had some stuff on them that you could use for the encounter, you can't grab it. But the exploitability was just too great, and so yeah, they had to get rid of it, and that's fine. I'm sure there's people who hate it, but it's fine. And then they introduced it into. I'm not sure if it was then they introduced it, but at some point, or maybe it was close to the same time, they introduced it eventually into like what do you call it? Eliminations,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Well,
There
they got
was
rid of team killing
Yeah, they got
altogether.
rid of team killing and eliminations.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Um, yeah, and actually, like, out of season 5 too, there's other things. That's when actually so Lone Wolf did start with trios, so that was the
Okay.
same season,
Yeah.
and, that's when the crows came out,
Oh, okay. There we
the
go.
exit
That's when the
kills.
crows were coming out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. And I guess it kind of makes sense that I don't know if it's it was obviously on purpose because that's when they released it. But the introduction of trios and lone wolf maybe is also to help balance out the things because before it was all duos, so you're always going to have teams of two. Now you can potentially have a team of three, and if you want to have like lobbies that are eight or so people, you might not have with some three-person teams. You might not balance out right, so you get like a single person in there. Pardon me, to get you closer to that eight.
Yeah. Well,
That could make
I
sense why they might do it at that same time, but
no, I think it was more because, like, they're for ages, people wanted more than duos. They're like, "I
mm,
have, like, a number of friends," but and, like, even to this day, like, I see people saying, "Hey, I want, like, a squad of 4 going into
yeah,
encounter,"
yeah,
and stuff like that. So it's like, it's like, it's always been asked, like, "I need more friends," or "I want more
more,
friends with
yeah.
me." So,
Like I
just
think,
like people
yeah,
want bigger lobbies on every map type thing too.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but
The 12 like with our limits on some maps being 12 people, it's hard to justify like going more than 3 people because then you're just you know you're getting down to the point where you have like two teams. Go at it. So
yeah. And then at that point, it's called eliminations.
yeah, and
Uh,
then you're into elimination. Exactly, right? You got two teams of five. So there you go. You can have up
so
to 5 people.
the last one I could think of is when they added 2 points of interest in the maps. So originally,
Oh,
Vigor had just the Bard House, and
yep,
then I believe it was with the release of the PlayStation the same season. They introduced Time Vault and the lock container,
that's
and
right.
actually, at one point, did we not have all three at one point?
Yeah, at first
And
we did because
and
when
it
they
was
introduced it, yeah, and then
it,
PlayStation players were used to it always having three loots of interest or points of
and
interest.
And I think it was promoted as, like, a Christmas event because I remember it being in December,
Yeah,
and it was like, you know, 3 loot events, blah, 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 and then they took it away, post-Christmas or the next update, and then there was a major outcry because
major outcry.
everyone on PlayStation, they didn't know Vigor without, just or
It's what they were
with
used to.
just
Yeah,
one Bard House.
yeah.
They were used to multiple loot events. And then, a lot of people on Xbox were like, it's not a big deal because that's what it was. But some
That's
some did actually
yeah.
prefer having the other loot events. But so season 8, they actually reintroduced it and as like a compromise where there's two loot events per map.
Two random
Which
loot events. Yeah,
is like isn't a bad idea. To me, like
it's a good
I
compromise. Yeah,
I always tell people, honestly, you want loot, don't go to the loot events. Loot events, you could get better loot just looting around if you know the
yeah,
maps. Like,
yeah.
know the maps, you'll get better loot. You could easily walk out with more loot than going to a loot event because it's just going to be a hot spot. If you want to fight, go for it. But if
Yeah.
you're like strictly a looter that wants loot, loot events are not for you. So,
It was always about the fighting. Like in the initial
yeah,
days, before they got the extra loot events, it was just Bard, and
yeah,
you'd see some people, and it's like they get in beeline for Bard, and it was like big fights around Bard. That
yep,
was the big fighting location.
yep,
So now, at least with the two random loot events, there's a chance if you spawn close enough to one, you can get to it, get in and get out real quick before other people get there. So yeah, they don't seem to attract quite the same amount of attention as they used to, which
yep,
is which is great. It gives you a better chance.
yep,
Yeah. So that was a big one too. Yeah. So the
yep,
changing of the loot event. So yeah, there's we found quite a few.
yep,
Like we didn't have them all written down, but as we're talking about it, it's like they're
yep.
coming back to us.
I was curious about one last one. This is
Mm.
predates both of us, but so once upon a time, there wasn't even a signal detector on the maps. So I was looking it up, and zero point 0.8 that update introduced the signal detector. So I'm like, that
Oh
would have been.
wow.
I'm not gonna lie, I would love to play an encounter with like no ports, no signals, uh, just like trying to the spawns. So it's like you try to figure
Yeah.
out where people might be heading. Uh, so it's like, yeah, it'd be
It
so
would
cool.
be. It'd be nice to have that option for sure, like hardcore mode, no signal detector, no
Yep.
ports allowed. It's just yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe they could limit it in some way where you can only take like purple and lower consumables, like no gold consumables kind of thing, because that gets rid of grenades, that gets rid of armor, that gets rid of ports.
Yep.
Um, is there any other gold consumables? Oh, there's
Rads.
radiation grenade, which is
Yep.
again a grenade, so it gets
Yep.
rid of those
Mortars.
grenades. You'd still have if you went purple and lower, you'd still have flash bombs. Yeah, no mortars. Yeah, that's another
Contact.
one.
You'd have contact bombs.
You'd have contact bombs and
Yeah, booby
booby
traps.
traps. Yeah,
But,
so that it'd be
yeah.
neat to have that mode, like a hard. I don't know if you want to call it a hardcore mode or what, but just a different mode that yeah, it took it back to an
Yep.
older, a different time when even have it so that there's no comm stations, right? Get rid of all those special things
Yep.
and just have maybe the loot events. You could maybe
Yep.
have one or two loot events still, and that's it. That'd be oh man, it'd be so interesting. Especially for those of us, even if we've been playing a long time, never had that, right?
Yep.
Um, there's because there was even a time when they were randomizing. I don't know if it was on purpose or not, but they were randomizing how many comm stations showed up on a map. So
Yep.
it could be between 1 and 3. Now it's like
Yep.
always I think it's always 3. I think there's
Yeah, I think they did away with that.
yeah, now it's always 3 comm stations. There's always the comm stations, there's always the signal detector, and there's always the disruptor,
Yep.
disruptive tower, right? So just having that ability to have no special things, just go in and see what happens. It'd be kind of neat.
Yep.
Even if it wasn't an all the time thing, maybe it was like a special event. Have like a weekend or a whatever, like where the throwback throwback to the old times event. That'd be kind of neat. That'd be something to throw in there, Mr. Partner. Make the suggestion.
Sure. And it's a could be an anniversary thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Make it an anniversary thing. Tie it in. Yeah, that'd be really neat. There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's pretty good. We covered quite a bit, and we don't even have it all written down, so I'm gonna have to remember what we
Yep.
talked about. But yeah, that was actually pretty good. Yeah, I just figured it'd be neat to talk about some of the things that have changed over the years, and how they affect us. And it's been a lot because this game it's going on. Is it going on? It's finishing its third year now.
Fourth year.
The fourth year. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, because I
Fourth
think
in
it's
August.
yeah. I'll have been playing. I think in June. I think it is June or July. 3 years. That's right. So yeah. So it's wow. It's kind of cool. But
Indeed.
there we go. That's episode 61. Just changes over the years. Just this nice little talk. Um, thanks again for listening. We'll be back next time. Maybe by next time there might be a preview. We'll see. We're getting close.
Fingers crossed. Yep.
Fingers crossed. And now that we know somebody who can maybe get us our own screenshots without us having to borrow, we
Yep.
might have a want to be so
Hopefully.
guilty. Yeah,
Hopefully.
hopefully we'll see. Yeah, we don't know yet, so we'll find out, I guess. But thanks for listening. Again,
Yep.
I'm Dr. Anton,
And I'm DJ Spencer.
and until next time, stay safe in the Outlands. Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.
I've heard you say you lost your way again. You don't see your Grab your chance and flame up your dream. I know you'll find your way. You must be calm anyway. Grab your chance and flame up your dream. Flame up your